If you've ever felt the feelings of guilt, shame, or regret from buying something that turned out to be useless, a waste of money, or you simply never used it and it sat in your home just collecting dust, you're in the right place. Today we're setting out some important questions to ask yourself before buying your next item so you never regret a purchase ever again. I've certainly had my fair share of feeling the confronting feelings of guilt and regret from purchases I've made with my hard-earned money, especially when I didn't have much to begin with. But over the years, I've homed in on my personal style, decluttered 80% of my wardrobe, created certain guidelines for myself that I live by, and saved a heck of a lot of money by adopting a more minimalist approach to life. I've learned a lot about myself over the past decade in particular, and now, as someone who's spent years unlearning a dependence of shopping for stress relief, I'm here to share 9 questions I think are really helpful to ask yourself before buying anything new. These have helped me be more conscious of what I'm bringing into my life, cuts down drastically on clutter, and saves a lot of money and buyer's remorse. Whenever I find myself wanting to buy something new, which is actually quite rare these days, I run through these questions and find it's a wonderful little checklist that I can run through specific to each new thing. Asking these questions makes me hyper aware of my thought process, my priorities in life, and ensures I'm always very intentional with where my money is going and what I'm bringing into my life. So let's jump in. Before making a purchase, and to avoid future regret, consider asking yourself, 1, why do I want this? It's good to try and understand your motives behind the purchase. Why specifically do you want to spend the hours of your life in monetary form for this item? Do you want it because it's a genuine need? Is it purely for fun, a desire for convenience in some way, or because you feel influenced to keep up with the latest trend? Asking yourself, why do I want this, opens up the conversation with yourself to figure out your priorities and trains you to be mindful with the reason why you'll potentially find joy in something prior to you spending a cent. I never used to question why I wanted things. I just see something new and shiny and think, I want that, and buy it then and there. And it's cost me a lot of money and buyer's remorse, and definitely not the happiness I was seeking. It finally clicked into place just how important it is, money and happiness wise, to always ask myself why. It leads to more intentional and deliberate choices, protects future me, and ensures I only ever surround myself with the things I truly value. So try it out, ask yourself, why do I want this? And see where the conversation flows within yourself. Next, as a second question I find helpful when considering whether to buy something, asking myself, do I already own something similar? Helps. No one needs 14 bright blue and white striped dresses of varying styles. When I decluttered my wardrobe, it was a mammoth of a task, and one I'll never let get that way again, because I learned a lot about myself and what I do and don't want in my closet moving forward. It was an eye-opening experience for me, decluttering the masses of clothes I had accumulated over the years. One thing that really stuck out to me was the sheer amount of duplicate type or similar-ish clothing items I had. For example, 14 bright blue and white striped dresses of varying styles I mentioned earlier. Yep, that was me. I'd say I have no idea how that happened, but really I do. I wasn't asking myself, do I already own something similar? Things can pile up over the years, and sometimes you love a certain something about a dress, but it doesn't quite hit the mark, but you buy it anyway. Then you stumble across one that's slightly better, and you pick that one up too. And the pattern continues until before you know it, your wardrobe is wheezing under the weight of far too many similar stripy dresses. So now I always, without fail, ask myself, do I already own something similar before buying? And I employ the minimalist rule of 1 in, 1 out, so I just keep my absolute favorites. It's been a game changer, so definitely consider asking yourself this question next time you see something that catches your eye in the store. Another key question, and actually probably the one that people usually ask first and then stop at, is, can I afford it? It's definitely an important question to ask yourself before buying anything. Actively thinking about your financial situation and whether the potential new thing you're looking at buying fits within your budget without causing stress or financial strain is crucial if you don't want to cause issues for future you. So yes, definitely ask yourself, can I afford this? But try to think past just today. Think beyond just the do I have the money right now element, and think about future you. Can future you afford it? Perhaps you know there's rent due at the end of the month and you're cutting it a little fine with the limited hours of work you've got so far. Or a future you saving for a well-deserved holiday and how this money could go away ways towards making that more expensive but completely worth it trip a reality. It's such an important consideration. Can I afford the thing now and in the near future? So don't ever skip out on asking yourself, can I afford this? Next, as a fourth question I find helpful to ask myself, and one I always make sure to double check with my partner Josh if he's buying something, have I researched alternatives? It's important to take the time to research close alternatives to the thing you've got your eyes set on. Ads are getting smarter and smarter nowadays, and it just takes you clicking on an item once for it to then constantly bombard your newsfeed on social media with the product. But seeing the exact same thing over and over without questioning if there's a better or more affordable or superior product isn't wise. It's far better to compare prices, read real reviews, and consider alternatives to ensure you're making an informed decision. So make sure you ask yourself the question, have I researched alternatives? If you have and the thing still has your heart, then you can feel far better knowing you will avoid instant buyer's remorse the next time you see something better or newer pop up in your newsfeed. Another important question, and one that I think gets missed out all the time, is what are the long-term costs? It's good to consider not just the initial purchase price, but also the ongoing costs for buying any items, like the maintenance costs, upgrades, or subscriptions associated with the purchase. What will the long-term cost be in terms of price? Yes, but also what about the non-monetary long-term costs, like the time it takes you to clean and dust it for the rest of its life in your home? By asking yourself about the long-term cost of buying something, you project yourself into the future in a responsible way that makes yourself an active participant in future use life. It's a great question to ask yourself and transports you into a future-proofing kind of way when it comes to your money and where you'd like it to go. Next, we've got perhaps one of the most difficult questions to ask yourself when thinking about adding something to your cart. Am I buying this out of emotion? It's a difficult question to ask yourself in the moment, and an even more difficult question to answer. It forces you to step back and really reflect on what you're feeling emotion-wise. Noticing if your purchase is emotion-based is a tricky thing to spot within yourself when your eyes are glued to the new fancy thing that made you feel a rush of excitement at the thought of buying it. But it's important to decipher if you're buying something purely out of emotion. Are you sad or stressed or even just bored? These are the kinds of purchases for a long time I went on autopilot with. It was confronting to even think about why and what emotion I was trying to stifle by buying yet another useless thingamabob. The feeling of excitement when buying things online in particular is very distracting with its thrill, but it's fleeting, and once the money is gone, it's gone. I found it's far better when I directly ask myself, am I buying this out of emotion before purchasing anything, especially if it's clothes online, because it forces me to acknowledge what I'm feeling. Then I can deal with it in a healthier way than feeding a shopping addiction. The purchases I would find rocking up at my door after not asking this what emotion am I feeling question were more often than not regrets, and I'd feel guilty about my lack of thoughtfulness or intentionality with so many of my packages. That was over a decade ago now, but I'll never find myself back in the place of feeling guilt or shame about mindlessly buying things I don't even need or even actually want after a week because of this question. Am I buying this out of emotion? I've learned to ask myself this over and over, and it does get easier every time, to where now it's just second nature for me. I've learned so much about myself in the process. So try it out the next time you feel the glow of the laptop shining on your face as you're adding things to your cart. Am I buying this out of emotion? The next question I ask myself is, what value will it add to my life? This one might seem like you have an obvious answer to, perhaps. Maybe you think, well, it'll make me happier to have it. But digging a little deeper than that and really asking yourself what value will it tangibly add to your life is a great way to really unpack how the new thing might fit into your life. Maybe it'll save you time or energy. I, for one, absolutely love my robot vacuum, and it was a solid few months of me weighing up what value exactly he'd add to my life. I worked out the hours of my life he saves me vacuuming and mopping, and it became abundantly clear that a robot vacuum would add a lot of value to my life. In the pure time he saves me, the fact that we have a golden retriever and dark hardwood floors, the fact that I was unwell for a lot of the past 3 years with health issues that made it difficult to stay on top of cleaning all the time, the list goes on. Working out the value that Anton, that's what we named him, adds to our life, it became so abundantly clear he was a fantastic purchase, and he certainly has been over the past 3 years. Having a clear picture of what the value tangibly looks like for the new thing you're thinking of purchasing makes buying things with your hard-earned money that much more satisfying and exciting. So try figuring out how much benefit or joy the purchase will bring you and ask yourself the important question, what value will it add to my life? Second to last on a list of questions to ask yourself before buying, we have, does it align with my values and priorities? This is a consideration that can oftentimes get overlooked. Everyone has their own values and priorities, and being steadfast in them, knowing what things are non-negotiable for you, for example, being animal cruelty free or environmentally sustainable or having things fair trade accredited, these are the kinds of things that fluctuate from person to person. But whatever yours are, it's a good idea to be conscious of what you're buying, so you can feel okay within yourself that you've upheld your values and priorities when buying something new. Someone wise once said that every time you spend money, you're casting a vote for the kind of world you want. And it's something that I think about a lot. I found a lot of clarity in my purchasing patterns once I really started to question what my core values and priorities are when buying something. So if you're ever feeling a little lost with if you should or shouldn't buy something, it's a good idea, and I found it immensely helpful to ask the question, does it align with my values and priorities? As a last question, I always ask myself when I'm thinking about buying something new, I ask, can I wait? It's completely changed the way I spend and save money. My bank account's never been happier. Sometimes simply adding something to your wish list instead of your cart and stepping away from the decision for a few days or 30 days, I find is actually the perfect amount of time to wait. This can provide you the clarity you're after. If it's an impulse buy, waiting and mulling it over can help prevent buyer's remorse. Another intended benefit of waiting for 30 days, if you can, means you can watch the price fluctuations and maybe even score the item for less money than originally found. I use the free Chrome extension Honey, which automatically shows me the price fluctuations over time, which is very cool because I find less urgency or FOMO, fear of missing out, because of fancy marketing campaigns telling me how I need to buy the thing now or the deal will run out. Just waiting and observing has been eye-opening to me. It's just about never the case that the thing you're feeling pressure to buy will sell out forever and there will never be a new or improved version of it somewhere. So if you're where I was and buying things on autopilot's become a problem or a way to not deal with the stress or whatever else it is, try waiting 30 days and ask yourself these 9 questions I shared today. A lot can change in 30 days, and if you find yourself still wanting the thing after then go ahead and you do you. You'll know what's best for you and when the timing's right. Having a mini boundary with yourself and some key questions to ask yourself before buying, it's only a good thing. It'll make you more mindful and intentional with your purchases. You'll learn a lot about yourself and you'll save yourself money. You'll also move closer to focusing in on the things that matter the most to you in life, with all the extra freedom that comes from turning off the autopilot buying response. And by asking yourself these questions, you can make more thoughtful decisions about your life, reducing the likelihood of buyer's remorse or regret later down the track. So there we go. They are the 9 questions I always ask myself before buying something new. I hope they're helpful to you, and I'd love to know, do you ask yourself any specific question before you buy something new, or are you going to now? Make sure you give this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And until next time, bye. I've been frowning. Frowning.